This is your short video on how to use the glass bead machine safely and most efficiently, and also to identify the parts of the glass bead machine. So we'll start with the air supply valve. The air comes in to supply the necessary air. Raise the valve straight up, that turns it on, lets the air come through to the pressure regulator valve here. That brings air over to the control valve on the foot pedal. You can hear the air going through the cabinet, which we'll look at in a moment. Got your vacuum and light switch. Light on inside, turns the air pump on to draw air out of the glass bead machine through a filter pack inside this cabinet off to the side here, filtering the air, taking the dust out of it, and blowing it back into the shop. So it's important that it does get the air cleaned out. When you use the glass bead machine, this lever is called a filter shaker lever, and before you start, it's a good idea to move that in and out rapidly for about 30 seconds to shake the dirt off of the airbags inside this cabinet. You'll feel it get easier and easier to move back and forth as the dust falls off the bags. It will fall down into the clean out tray at the bottom. There's a wing nut that can be removed if this happens to be your week to clean out the glass bead machine, and that tray can be pulled out and the dust collects in it and we can put it in the garbage. And it is dusty, so take it slow and bring the garbage can over to save from spilling and making a big mess. Operation wise, this door on the side is your access to the glass bead machine cabinet itself. It needs to be closed at all times while the glass machine is being used to try to keep the glass beads inside. They're white, it looks like sand, they're like small marbles, very, very slick when it gets on the floor, so we don't want to, for safety reasons, have them out on the floor. If they do, we need to sweep them up. You can see that there's some laying on the floor now that should be swept up, and they can be filtered through a screen that's up on the top, just some screen door screen, and use that as a filter. Pour the glass beads back through those, and the bigger stuff that might have fallen into the cabinet or swept up on the floor will stay in the screen. Dump it in the garbage. Glass beads go into the bottom of the cabinet, what I call the hopper. There's a hose. I don't know if this will focus or not for us. Down the bottom, that's where the glass beads get picked up and siphoned up into the hose that goes over to the glass bead nozzle. There's also an air hose connected to the glass bead nozzle, so there are two hoses. The air goes rushing through the nozzle and it siphons the glass beads up into the airstream and blasts the glass beads out against the part and cleaning it up. The second hose that you see in here has the air nozzle, and that is for blowing the glass beads off of the parts. It's a larger part, and it collects glass beads while you're working on different portions of it. You can blow them back off of the part, such as this cup, this bowl that somebody's built. If you're trying to glass bead that, they're going to collect in the bottom, and you just take the air nozzle, blow them out before you pull it outside and end up with glass beads all over the floor. Plus they're expensive, so we want to keep them inside the cabinet. So doors closed. We want to keep the inside of the cabinet dry, so we do not put any oil, water, liquids on the parts that we're cleaning. We do not want them to be wet when they go inside the cabinet. The next item is do not point the nozzle at the glass window. What will happen is it takes off this finish and makes it very difficult to see inside the cabinet, as you can tell. This works really well. Somebody has pointed the glass bead at the window and basically makes it near impossible to use. The last thing we want to make sure is when you're taking parts out, it's okay to leave the fan running. That tends to vacuum and draw the glass beads up inside as you crack the door open rather than letting them fall out. So it's okay to leave that fan running. There's no glass beads being used right now if I'm not stepping on the pedal. At this point, it's just creating a vacuum, and that's fine. Once you get the door open, then you can shut the switch off. And as you walk, before you walk away, we want to shut the air valve off in case this hose has a leak in it over the weekend or when we're away. We do not want the compressor that you probably heard at the beginning of this video that's upstairs, supplies the air to this. We don't want it running all weekend continuously because this hose is leaking air. So shut the valve off, and that will save our compressor and just be a good practice to prolong the life of our compressor upstairs. Alright, see Mr. Sitton, explain the information on the sheet to him that you've gotten off this video, and we'll find a part. If you don't have one of your own, we'll come up with a part that you can demonstrate how to use the glass bead machine on. Good luck. It's an awesome tool.